into the SuperElites 125 qualifying session now as the battle for supremacy continues. Now, because of the way things are at the moment in the championship battle, you would automatically think that because he has started and then won every race he has competed in this year, the championship would already be on the verge of being sewn up by Sam Faulkner. But there is a slight complication because, of course, Sam Faulkner missed the fourth round of the championship, or I should say the fourth weekend of the championship at Wilton Mill, which was originally meant to take place in March. But because it was cancelled due to a snow flourish, we then had to rerun it in June, and he was unavailable for that particular weekend, so he missed that round of the championship. As a result of that, he has to count that round of the championship as he's dropped scores. So that means he's only actually done 5 weekends this year. Now, okay, ultimately he has won every single race he started at all 5 weekends. So that means he's had 15 races and 15 victories. However, there are still 2 weekends to go. And of course, there are still 305 points per weekend to play for. Sorry, 325 points to play for every weekend, I should say. My maths is appalling. So there is a long way to go in this championship with these 6 remaining races, and Richard Evans can still take the title away from him, as can Sam Dimolo and Matthew Pearce. So it is still mathematically possible that anybody in the top 4 can still win this championship. Richard Evans has taken a race win so far this season, as has Matthew Pearce, as has Dan Walden as well, who's only 1 point behind Matthew Pearce in the championship. Massaralla's 2 behind Walden. Stansfield is 2 behind Stansfield. So although Sam Faulkner has a big lead, all it's going to take is for one bad weekend, and all of a sudden the championship comes back into fruition. And he did have a couple of bad weekends last year. You're watching Tyrone Stansfield now, the 299, who was the junior champion last year. A couple of drivers heading out of the pits. There's Sam Dimolo. I'm delighted he's found his van keys. This morning we were told that his car was locked in a particular van, and the van keys were back at home, so his dad had to dash down the motorway to get back home to get access to the car, and somehow they managed to do it in time before Sam Dimolo went out for warm-up this morning. So I don't know how many speed limits he must have broken to get home, but goodness me, they are determined, especially now knowing that all it takes is one dodgy round for Sam Faulkner and everybody is right back in the mix. Even though he's won 15 out of 15 races started, at this stage of the championship, with 2 rounds still to go and having missed a round, Sam Faulkner could still be beaten in this championship. They all know it, and they want to make it happen. But he can't win the championship until Wilton Mill, whatever happens. Mathematically, it will still go to the wire, which is good news for this man, Richard Evans, runner-up to Sam Faulkner last year, and does not want to be runner-up to him again. Pole position at the moment, 43.979, the fastest that we've seen all weekend. Tyrone Stansfield second from Sam Faulkner, Ben Hitch, Mark Lawrence, Harry Barlow, Tom Massaralla and Jim Rainbird. With rounding up the top 10 at the moment, it is Elliot Stanley and Neil Fisher. And now that we're on the live stream, it's worth noting that Neil Fisher did 2 of the practice sessions yesterday. He was originally due to do 3 of them, because in the morning he was racing over at Silverstone in some classic cars, including an Austin Healey Sprite, he tells me. I'm not jealous in the slightest, honest. But his 3rd practice session, he was actually replaced in the practice session yesterday by Andy Cox, the championship coordinator. He went out and had a bit of a play. It's been a while since he's done some competitive running at Shenington, but of course he knows this place like the back of his hand. He won a title here back in the late 80s, early 90s, so he knows this place very well, and he obviously enjoyed the running out in the kart again. And proof you never lose it, he was only 7/10 of a second off the top time. Sam Faulkner goes fastest again, 43.792 in front of Tyrone Stansfield by just 0.055, but 43.7, I'm convinced, is not going to be the pole position time. There is number 1, Sam Faulkner, the reigning SuperElites champion. He will come into this weekend with plenty of opportunity to move forward. So let's see how he fares. Sam Faulkner, of course, looking for his 16th, 17th and 18th wins of the season throughout the course of this weekend. So let's see how it fares as we watch the drivers in position. Faulkner in front of Stansfield, Hitch, Evans, Barlow, Pearce, Lawrence, Stanley, Rainbird and Massaralla. There is Sam Faulkner once again on a 43.742 now for the lap. That is his fastest lap of the session. He increases his advantage over Tyrone Stansfield to 1/10 of a second. And that is Thomas Massaralla. Now that is disastrous for Tom Massaralla. He was 4/10 of a second down in quali at that point, but he has pulled off just after the Bruno chicane. I'm not entirely sure what's happened there, but unfortunately, that is game over for Tom Massaralla's qualifying, and that's not the first time that's happened this year to poor Tom, who has joined the ranks of Tyrone Stansfield and Harry Barlow as drivers who have stepped out of juniors this year and found another 25 cc's to go racing with in 2018 to move out of juniors and up into the seniors. They've done a very good job to get to that point, but it is obviously going to be a very exciting season ahead for them. Still an interesting battle ahead for this weekend, though, for the Super Elites, with Faulkner up in first, Stansfield second, and Barlow now third. So Harry Barlow in third position. Oh, what's happened to Carl Watt when he's been out there? He's had some kind of incident somewhere and dented the nose on top of the cart's steering column. The nacelle seems to have been bent in. Not quite sure what's happened there. And the driver's still trying to find some speed. Keep an eye on the number 3, Matthew Pearce, actually, because he has gone up into fourth position. Yeah, what's happened to Carl Watt? His nacelle seems to be resting on his kneecaps at the moment. The 232 just in there behind him, Jim Rainbird, always ridiculously fast. He's his own worst critic. He hasn't been able to do a full campaign, but whenever he's had the opportunity to get here, he's been able to mechanic for other drivers just to help them out. Again, that's the brilliant thing about this particular championship. You always get an amazing crop of racing drivers who want to help out. It's a Three Musketeers environment, birelART UK Series. It's all for one and one for all, as everybody battles away together. And everybody wants to help each other out. If somebody's got a mechanical problem, so let's take Massaralla as an example, I have a feeling that there's going to be someone up and down the paddock who's going to be able to help him, even if they haven't got the spare part, which they probably will have. So it is Faulkner in pole position at the moment from Evans and Pearce. 1, 2 and 3 from last year, in 1, 2 and 3 on the grid for this session for the moment. Then it is Stansfield from Barlow. Ben Hitch, leading rookie, is in 6th, at least he was. Now Sam Dimolo's come up to the top 6. You're just looking at him now, 5th position. He is the reigning Super Masters champion, of course. He did say over the winter, I do fancy an attempt at going for the Super Elites if I can drop a few kilos. Well, over the winter, they decided to combine the Super Elites and Super Masters categories into one championship, and ever since then, it has been a very exciting battle for him. We've still got qualifying going on, but down behind me is Will Checkley. I'm not entirely sure what's happened to Will, but he's brought the kart in very early. Some kind of issue. Just want to try and see if I can get a word with Will. Will, not the best of qualifying sessions. What's happened?
Just a bit slippy for me. And I didn't have a decent toe either, so and a few other drivers who were slowing down sort of affected my my lap time, so I just thought, nah, forget it. It's just quali, so I'll try and make it up for the race.
Plenty of overtaking moves on the way. With this being Shenington, you should have some great overtaking opportunities.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm not really bothered about qualifying, to be honest. I just want to start wherever and then just paddle through the race. So.
Fair enough, Will. Good luck.
Cheers.
So there we go. Qualifying not as important as racing to Will Checkley. The final seconds of qualifying ticking down. So let's see how it's going to fare. Will Sam Faulkner remain on pole position in the dying seconds of qualifying? He's got to work very hard, but he's got plenty of opposition. Matthew Pearce could well take it from him. He's been the qualifying master throughout the majority of this season. Over one lap, there's not many people who are as fast as Matthew Pearce. Coming into the pits, that's the 160 waving his way in. That is Ben Hitch, who's done a .273 deficit to pole position. The checkered flag is out, so now the drivers will be crossing the line to finish off their qualifying. That is Ami Jurga, just going through the shot, the number 4. Neil Fisher, 282. Two drivers who were regular winners last year. In fact, Ami Jurga's last race win in birelART UK Series was at this track last year, about 18 months ago. So now the drivers trying to get their fast laps in. We'll keep an eye on Matthew Pearce, the number 3, the green machine with the red top helmet. As the drivers will try and finish off on a flying note across the line. Here will come the top 3. What's Matthew Pearce going to do over the line? He will come now. And is it fast enough? No, he's backed out in the final lap, actually. So Matthew Pearce not going to get pole position. So it's Sam Faulkner who will remain on the top spot from Richard Evans and Matthew Pearce. Then it is Tyrone Stansfield from Sam Dimolo and Harry Barlow, Ben Hitch and Jim Rainbird, Mark Lawrence and Elliot Stanley. Then it is Neil Fisher, Tom Massarella, Will Checkley, Paul Ozan. Then it is Ami Jurga from Jason Bradbury, Oliver Moy, Dan Walden, all the way down in 18th. Not quite sure what's happened with his qualifying session. David Darling, Carl Watt, Dave Burns, George Friday, down in a disappointing 22nd from his point of view. And then Sean Port in 23rd. So racing is not going to be too far away. We'll just grab a word with the drivers in the holding area. Obviously, we want to try and grab a word with the top three, and easily enough for us, convenient enough for us, they will be numbers 1, 2, and 3 on the carts. So obviously, very early on, Richard Evans has already brought the cart in. So let's have a quick word with Richard before he disappears. Richard, second position in qualifying. Not a bad start to the weekend, and so far so good.
Yeah, not too bad. Lap timer broke, so I had no idea what was going on. But yeah, seemed all right, so good.
This is one of those circuits where a decent overtaking opportunity can present itself more than once over the course of a race, so this is definitely very much game on.
Yeah, hopefully. Talk to me in a couple of hours, we'll see.
Cheers, Richard, thank you. So these guys very much wanting to focus on the job ahead, of course, for the majority of. I'll see if I can find, just trying to keep out of the way of the interference. I don't think I'm going to get Sam Faulkner, because he always finds a way of disappearing. Yeah, he's gone down that way somewhere. And to be fair, he is the Kimi Räikkönen of the paddock. He does most of his chatting on track. So I'm not sure we'll grab a word with him just yet. He'll probably try and save his best sentence of the weekend for the podium if he's going to be there later. And I hear he's actually got freshers flu at the moment, which is code for I've enjoyed my first week at university. So I'm going to leave him to that, I think. But certainly the pole sitter, keeping things nice and easy at the start of the weekend. I'm not entirely sure where Matthew Pearce is in the queue. I think he's right towards the back, actually, so we'll try and grab a word with him a little bit. I might just have time to do that before we get ready for start of racing. Just try and dash down the line. He'll be here somewhere. Trying desperately to stay in range as well, obviously, because we've got to make sure that we've got a few of the drivers as they prepare for the race action. We didn't get to talk to many of the drivers from the Super Elites. That's because not a lot of them do a lot of talking. They're only here to race. They're not here to be superstars. But they definitely are superstars in the paddock. So there's going to be a few drivers, obviously, that we're going to want to catch up with here in the pits, and we've got a few drivers to catch up with. Let's just talk you through how things are going to look on that front row of the grid. The front row is going to consist of the two drivers in carts number 1 and 2, Sam Faulkner and Richard Evans, chatting away already to Dan Walden. Matthew Pearce is over at the far side here. We didn't catch up with him in qualifying, but let's see if we can grab a quick word in with Matthew in preparation for the start of proceedings. Matthew? Everybody watching on the live stream, of course. Matthew, we just want to catch up because obviously qualifying has always been a strong part of your weekend, and again today, right up at the sharp end on the second row of the grid. But we know your reputation of old. You can make some good moves from here.
Yeah, I absolutely love this circuit. So it wasn't the best qualifying session, but hopefully the racing will be better. So it's going to be quite interesting with these many karts. But yeah, looking forward to it.
And this is a good point in the season as well, because the pressure is all on the guys in front now, because you know they've got to drop some scores coming up potentially. You have an opportunity in these next 2 weekends to put some really impressive points on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually had 2 poor rounds the last times out, so I don't really have any pressure as such. So I just want to try and get as many points as I can. So yeah, just want a clean finish in all 3 races.
Expect the big guns, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, good luck, Matthew. Hopefully we'll see you on the podium later.
Thank you.
So obviously Matthew's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on through the course of the weekend. We spoke briefly to Tyrone and to Harry, the 2 junior drivers, of course, who have come up from last year and are now very much front runners in their own right in the Super Elites. Sam Dimolo, P5. This is an interesting story because they very nearly didn't race at all over the course of the day. And I'm told it's because somebody didn't put the keys to the van in the right pocket. And basically, they then had to dash home and get the right van keys. That's an interesting story. I wonder who's to blame for that one. Further back, though, we've got a few more names to keep an up with. Jim Rainbird, good to see you back again. I know that you're always more frustrating as a spanner than you are as a racing driver, but it's great to see you and back at the sharp end again.
Thanks very much, Jake. I'm looking forward to going fishing next weekend.
You're always more interested in the fishing than the racing. What is it with you and fishing? Anyway, the battle in this championship is always very, very close, but it must give you a lot of pleasure to still be at the sharp end.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm quite at the sharp end, but I'm sort of the next bit down. Yeah, that's about. Yeah, it's good if I can make that bit.
Well, when I say sharp end, you've still got a good dozen of them behind you, and they're all a little bit hacked off, and they're not faster than you.
I'm just not sure I can stay here. That's the thing.
Well, we'll see what happens in the races. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Always a pleasure. Never a bore. Right, over the far side, we have the leading rookie in the championship, Ben Hitch, who, let's be fair, has caused quite a few issues for other drivers over the course of proceedings. Ben, you have been a bit of a worry to a few of these guys up the sharp end, more times than not. Are we going to see that same sort of pace from you again this weekend?
Hopefully. If you check what's going on behind me, you'll see it's not all me.
So for somebody who's come into the Super Elites category, 125s for the first time, I mean, what have been your impressions over the course of the season? You've obviously been able to come in and run at the front pretty much from the start. How has the season evolved? What would you say to those looking to get into it?
Yeah, go for it. But it's a very tight championship. There's nothing in it at all, as you can see today.
Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing you towards that podium again. Good luck, Ben. So who else can we have a quick shifty with? I think the call has been made to clear the grid, unfortunately, so I need to disappear, and so do you, unfortunately. So we'll get ourselves into a good position, but as you can see, very close in this field, and we're not entirely sure who's going to get the victory, but for the moment, it's all about beating that man on pole position. So Sam Faulkner is obviously going to be the man that every driver has got their eye on at the moment, and from the start, he is obviously going to be the man to overtake. Every time Sam Faulkner has been in the paddock this year and started a race, he hasn't always done it from the front, but he has won every race he started. That is a worrying statistic for the rest of the paddock. There are two factors, though, that will be in the favour of the other drivers. One, he's got freshers flu, so he tells us. That's just code for had a really good first week at university. And well done for getting into Oxford in the first place, Sam. But also, he has obviously got a round of the championship he didn't attend because the first round of the championship was meant to be at Wilton Mill. That got snowed off, and his schedule meant he couldn't attend the rescheduled running of that round. So he can't win the championship until Wilton Mill. So there's still a very long weekend to come this weekend, and then obviously next time out. As Harry Barlow just sits and waits for the race to get underway. He's another of the drivers you can expect to be challenging for the victory today in each of the three races. One of the drivers who's come up from the junior brigade last year, along with his good friend Tyrone Stansfield. Time to go racing in Super Elites. This is going to be an exciting one. It always is in Super Elites. These guys don't do things by halves. And we'll see some incredible challenges from the drivers in the battle for the top spot. So the Super Elites head out, and it's time for the 125cc Warriors to run around the circuit with gusto and bravado. Sam Faulkner and Richard Evans from the front row of the grid. Matthew Pearce and Tyrone Stansfield from the second row. Then, as we already spoke to on the grid, it will be Sam Demelow and Harry Barlow. And then, of course, we'll have the challenge from behind. Jim Rainbird, alongside in 8th position on the grid, the 7th place man, Ben Hitch. So we'll see those two together on the starting grid once again, and then rounding out that top 10 after a very intense qualifying session. Mark Lawrence doing a brilliant job there in the top 10, and Elliot Stanley in 10th position itself. Now, of course, you've got to remember with Mark Lawrence, he's celebrating a very special year because a couple of weekends ago, he started at Glanigorse, his 250th race in the birelART UK Series. Nobody's ever competed as many as him, but he's been there since day one. Absolutely terrific stuff. Neil Fisher and Thomas Massarella on the 6th row of the starting grid from Will Checkley and Paul Ozan. Ami Jurga, who won here 18 months ago, of course, in the final, in 15th position, along with Jason Bradbury. Then it is Oliver Moy and Dan Walden. So it's going to be a really interesting battle from the drivers. David Darling alongside Carl Watt. And then we'll have the likes of George Friday, who's lining up on the 11th row of the grid. They're going to go round again by the look of it. Yes, it is a false start, so that's fine. Dave Burns, 21st on the grid from George Friday, and then 23rd on the grid will be the 197 of, that is going to be Sean Port. Sorry, the 245 of Sean Port. will be at the back of the grid. Have we got someone broken down? I wondered if there was somebody just trailing a bit too much smoke, but we're okay for the moment. As they're getting up to speed, Joe Patterson is watching along on the stream at home. Good luck to all drivers in the elites. I reckon this is the weekend Sam Faulkner will lose his winning streak. Well, there's 22 drivers on the grid who'll be hoping for that. And his winning streak has been pretty unbelievable. 15 race starts, 15 race victories. He cannot win the title until Wilton Mill, whatever happens, even if he wins all three, because the round he missed is still a dropped score, and he hasn't scored quite enough points as a result of missing that round by comparison to be the champion. So he's not quite there yet. But let's see what happens. Away they go, and it's a cracking start. Sam Faulkner straight into the lead. Matthew Pearce trying to come up into second past Richard Evans, not enough space, and he's going to try and get Richard Evans on the undercut. Sam Faulkner's already dropped anchor. The rest of the field are disappearing behind him as now Matthew Pearce is going to make the lunge on Richard Evans. This is going to be his only chance to win the race, really. He's got to get past Evans quickly, and he has done. And Stansfield's through, Dimolow's through, Barlow's through. Evans down to 6th. So Matthew Pearce now setting off after Sam Faulkner. He's got to hope that Faulkner is going to be catchable. Meanwhile, Harry Barlow has got past Richard Evans. Ben Hitch is tagging in behind. And there's been contact, unfortunately, by the look of it. That's Oliver Moy, who's gone with David Darling. So the two of them, unfortunately, involved in that one. But Sam Faulkner leads the way. Second place, Matthew Pearce from Tyrone Stansfield. Then it's Sam Dimolo. Evans, Barlow. Then it is Ben Hitch from Jim Rainbird. So the only two that have fallen off the tail of the field there, effectively, George Friday and Sean Port have had a bit of an incident. And then, of course, we've had David Darling. But Oliver Moy is still stopped at that circuit, that part of the circuit. That is why the yellow flags are out at the Bruno chicane, and that is for that man, Oliver Moy, who is still there, unfortunately, at that part of the circuit. Yellow flags are still waving. And the overtaking move might come from Dimolo here. Yep, he's got up the inside of Stansfield. So that's fine and dandy. Perfectly legal move there from Dimolo. But there's a yellow flag because we've had a spin further back. Somebody else has gone. Now, who is that? I think that is Elliot Stanley. We've had two carts come off there, actually, at the far side of the circuit. One of them is Elliot Stanley, the 6, and it looks like he's getting back into position. And Will Checkley. George Friday's got a problem. He's peeling off. That is a disaster for George Friday. It's all kicking off in this race. My goodness, all sorts of difficulties for a few of the drivers in the mix there. Fans watching from all over the world. Sam Faulkner leads the way. Thank you to Will Martin, who is a Ginetta Junior driver, of course. And that's why he's not been competing in the championship this year. But he's still a massive fan. He's still cheering his mates on in the paddock. Still got yellow flags for Oliver Moy's incident as Matthew Pearce runs out wide. Richard Evans tries to come through on the far side. Dimolo's already got him. And Dimolo is now setting off in pursuit of Sam Faulkner himself. 1.9 seconds is the gap. Pearce is just trying to hang on. I think Pearce has got a problem with that kart, you know. Something's looking a little bit too loose. Stationary yellow still at Bruno chicane, so they can't overtake. I think Pearce has got some kind of handling issue. The kart is all over the shop. And now he's got a queue piling up behind him. Something is not quite right with the number 3. Harry Barlow is right there behind him in 4th place trying to come through. Richard Evans is in the mix there as well. So several drivers in dire straits, but Matthew Pearce running in 3rd. Harry Barlow in P4. Look at the squabble further back as up the inside. That is a bold move from the 277 of Paul Ozan. He makes the move on the inside of Fisher. And there's a proper little squabble going on here as Pearce continues to hold the inside line, but Evans is going to get him on the undercut, surely. Not quite, as Stansfield tries to shake off the attentions of Ben Hitch, who has already got past Harry Barlow. Jim Rainbird is next in. Then it is Mark Lawrence and Neil Fisher. What a race. And now Richard Evans overtaking Matthew Pearce and actually putting his fingers up as if to say, come on, that was a bit naughty. So now Matthew Pearce is in there behind Richard Evans. Ben Hitch is going to try and make a lunge at Tyrone Stansfield sooner rather than later. Look at Pearce, he's defending like crazy. And I have a feeling that is going to be the rest of his race. He knows that he's only got 4 minutes to hang on. He's got some kind of handling problem by the look of it. So he's just defending like mad in the hope that he gets a relatively decent result. Neil Fisher, meanwhile, dives up the inside and tries to make the overtaking move. And Neil Fisher has done that on Paul Ozan, so he goes through into 10th place. Mark Lawrence, the leading Grandmaster in the Grandmasters title, is going on. Tyrone Stansfield, having got past Matthew Pearce, signals to him and says, right, come on, let's go after them. As Barlow makes a big lunge up the inside and gets past Ben Hitch. So Barlow makes the move. Faulkner is your leader. Second place, Dimolo. Third is now Evans from Stansfield. Pearce, Barlow, Hitch, Rainbird, Lawrence, Fisher, Ozan, Massarala and Bradbury. Then it is Jurga in front of Dan Walden, who's not got a decent pace compared to where we're used to seeing him this weekend, as Hitch nearly gets squeezed onto the grass there by Harry Barlow. And now off on the grass, that was Paul Ozan running a little bit deep. That's going to leave Ami Jurga with an opportunity to pass him. So can she make the move there? We'll have to have a look, certainly on the exit. Ben Hitch is going to try and get to the lunge on Barlow. There's not a lot of space. And Ben Hitch, arm in the air. Come on, what are you doing? The thing is, I don't think Barlow really sensed that Hitch was going to make the move there. So just took his normal racing line. I don't think that was intentional. I just don't think he expected Ben Hitch to be launching it up the inside there. Not that Ben Hitch shouldn't have done. But I just don't think he expected it, to be honest. So Faulkner leads the way. Dimolo in second. Evans in third. Then Stansfield. And then this absolutely titanic struggle. Pearce in front of Barlow and Hitch, then Rainbird, Fisher, Lawrence, Massarala, Bradbury, Ozan, Jurga, Walden, Carl Watt, Dave Burns, and Elliot Stanley in front of Checkley, Port, Darling and Friday, who's out of the race now, of course, as we know, and so too is Oliver Moy. So Faulkner way out in front. What was that you were saying, Joe Patterson? I don't think his winning streak's ending just yet, do you? Certainly not at the moment. Dimolo in second place sets a personal best, but it's not going to be close enough to keep up with this man, Sam Faulkner. First week of university at Oxford, and still absolutely rip-roaring. His dad was telling us recently they did a charity race at Dunkerswell Raceway, and Sam Faulkner spent time duelling with a certain Nigel Mansell, would you believe? So Sam Dimolo down the back straight, with Richard Evans in third position, Tyrone Stansfield P4, Matthew Pearce P5. Then it's Hitch, Barlow, Rainbird, Fisher, Lawrence, Massarala and Bradbury. There's Sam Dimolo. And there's your race leader, Sam Faulkner. 2 champions, 1 and 2 from the 2017 season. Sam Faulkner still pushing on hard. And they're continuing their duel down to the Stratford hairpin once again. Stansfield right up close behind Richard Evans, hoping for an opportunity to get into third. And Sam Dimolo is not quite able to keep up with the race leader, Sam Faulkner. I don't know how he does it, but Sam Faulkner is just bolted to it in birelART karts here in the SuperElites Championship. Won the title last year. Could easily have won it the year before as well, let's not forget, but he has come all the way, Sam Faulkner, from cadet up through the junior and now as a SuperElite. Absolutely brilliant as a driver in SuperElites this year. He's not lost the race and not likely to, the way things are currently going. But he won't quite wrap up the championship next time out. So he's got to keep focused, he's got to keep pushing. I said he won't quite win the championship until next time out is what I meant to say. Rainbird now with Neil Fisher behind him. This is the Grandmasters battle. Where's Mark Lawrence? He's ended up slipping behind these guys and Tom Massarala. So there is a race within a race here, the Grandmasters battle. Rainbird, Fisher and Lawrence. Lawrence is leading the points of that at the moment. And it wouldn't be a bad fillet for him to take the victory in the title after his long years of continued service in the birelART UK Series. He only missed 1 round of the championship in the entirety of his career, and that was earlier this year when a cancelled flight meant he couldn't attend at Wilton Mill. So Sam Faulkner, Sam Dimolo, Richard Evans, Tyrone Stansfield and Matthew Pearce is the top 5, but is it going to stay that way for long? Because Evans has caught right up to Dimolo and he's going to try and make a lunge for second. Meanwhile though, this man, Sam Faulkner, has just been absolutely crushing of his opposition. Out of the final turn, Faulkner takes the checkered flag for, unbelievably, the 16th time this year. Absolutely unbelievable. He looks back, where is everybody? That's where. Dimolo a whisker in front of Evans. Stansfield in 4th place, Hitch is 5th from Pearce, Barlow, Rainbird, Fisher and Massarala. Absolutely terrific racing. SuperElites once again demonstrate in fantastic style But for this man, it's just been unbelievable. So on the weighbridge, and all according to plan for our race winner. So we're just double checking and making sure everything is tickety-boo. It's all fine and dandy, and everything is cushy for our race winner for the 16th time this year. It is quite an unbelievable achievement, and the pace is just always there. So let's have a quick word with our top three at the end of the first race, and we'll start with Sam Faulkner. Sam, good freshers week over at Oxford. Looks like a very good start to the weekend as well now.
Yeah, it was a good start. I got a decent start to the race, got a gap on the first corner, and then they started fighting behind, so just let me get away, I think.
It's been one of those races where basically being in the right place at the right time pays dividends, but I have a feeling the next two races could be a lot tougher.
Yeah, it just helped I got a gap from the first corner, and it meant I didn't have to defend on the first lap, and everyone else had to, so it meant when the first lap I had enough of a gap, so I didn't have to defend once. But if I don't get that in the next one, then I'll have to defend, I'm guessing, for a lot of the race.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sam. And I have to say that public speaking course is going great at Oxford. That's the best I've got out. That's the most I've got out of you in one interview. Nice one, mate. Anyway, let's catch up with Sam Dimolo. Well, Sam, it shows that when you pack the right car keys, you can do a second position job, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I tried to manage my gap, and I thought I could pick up the pace again, but turns out I couldn't. So last lap got a bit interesting, but it's not too bad. Second from fifth is the right way, and then obviously at Hooton I got ahead of Sam at the start, starting second twice. So hopefully I can do that, and it's a lot easier to defend that than Hooton is. So I might just go defence for the whole race if we get past them.
All right, fair enough. That sounds like a good strategy, Sam. Thank you very much. I would speak to Richard Evans, but he's wandered off, as he always does. So that is where we conclude things for the morning session. We still, of course, have our two finals to come later on in the day. But what a cracking way to start the weekend. Winners of, once again, a battle for Nathan Ty, Harry Graham, and our victor in the Super Elite, Sam Faulkner. The championship leaders take the early spoils, but with 6 races to go, 2 apiece for each class, we still don't really know who's going to get the job done overall. We move on to the birelART Super Elites pre-final, and the 125cc category has been pretty action-packed throughout this season. Even here today, we've had some pretty exciting action. These two are obviously going to be having a race within a race through the course of proceedings. Mark Lawrence and Neil Fisher battling for the honours as the leading Grandmaster. They will want to do so. Yes, Neil, we're talking about you, mate. Ha-ha! Yes, indeed. Hello. Jim Rainbird is joining in the action as well with those three. These are the 3 drivers who, over the course of the weekend, are going to be duelling for the leading Grandmaster in the battle. Leading the points tally, of course, in the Grandmasters Brigade is Mark Lawrence, who travels further for these races than anybody else in Great Britain. He comes all the way from Edinburgh. He's only ever missed 1 weekend in his entire birelART career. When was that? Oh yeah, that was Wilton, wasn't it? Snow wouldn't stop you coming here at the beginning of the season, but a mild bit of drizzle, that really held you up, didn't it? To be fair, I think we'll blame some form of airline company for that one. But what an absolutely fantastic season this is proving to be in Super Elites. They're all trying to catch one man and beat him, and that man is Sam Faulkner. 16 wins from 16 starts over the course of the year thus far. This man, though, Matthew Pearce, could be one of the drivers to beat him this season. In terms of his qualifying pace, you cannot deny his excellence over 1 lap. His raw pace in qualifying over the course of the year has been tremendous, but even he said to me earlier, 3rd position, that's not quite what I wanted, really. But in terms of his racecraft, he has what it takes to win. So does this man, barging his way into our shot, Sam Dimolo from the front row of the grid. He will be pretty spectacular. And yet again, we see the same scenario. The Super Elite champion from last year, Sam Faulkner, against this man, the Super Masters champion from last year, Sam Dimolo. In the off-season, he said, I want a challenge in 2018. Well, he certainly got one. But he's risen to the occasion brilliantly. And there is still, at this point in the season, thanks to that 2nd place finish, there is still a mathematical chance that he could lift the championship. If all goes well in these next 2 races, it is still doable. Sam Faulkner missing the Wilton Mill round of the championship earlier in the year means that it is technically still doable. It's going to be a tough ask and everybody knows that. But there's 22 drivers on this grid who's kind of hoping for some kind of problem with Sam Faulkner's kart. But it hasn't happened yet, certainly in 2018. It's been shipshape and Bristol fashion all season long, including for that ludicrous race where this man, Richard Evans, was set to take the victory at Fullbeck. He was leading with a lap and a half in hand, and a throttle issue then started to get into the kart, and Sam Faulkner, who was already having a pretty unbelievable drive up to that point, suddenly stormed through on the last lap and took the win away from him, despite having been turned around in the first chicane at the time. There is Ben Hitch, once again, leading rookie in the championship, and the 160, always a constant threat. There's even suggestion that the way his rate of development means that next year he could almost certainly be a championship contender, and I have to say I agree with them. So the drivers getting themselves ready for the action. There is the man from Braintree, Ty Green's superstar, Tyrone Stansfield. Junior champion from last year, moved up to the Super Elites this year, and was in the top 5 straight out of the blocks. So there's definitely a chance for him to continue his rate of development. Matthew Pearce with the red rose on the helmet, very distinctive from a distance. This man has got such incredible raw pace. And if anybody's going to take a victory off Sam Faulkner this season, it could well be him. There's Jim Rainbird getting himself ready for the action once again. And it's wonderful, isn't it, that even 18 months after the incident at Donington Park last year that saw our good friend Billy Munger in a sorry state, there are still so many Billy Whiz stickers up and down the paddock. Even now, 18 months later, you still see them on a lot of the karts. They all feel their motor racing with a passion. There's Tom Massarella. He has not let the difficulties of qualifying hold him back. If anything, he's just been charging through the field like a cat out of a bag. And there's a good chance that the top 5 could well come his way again in this race. There's Harry Barlow, another top driver in this championship. Runner-up in last year's junior crown, of course. And now in 2018, one of the front runners in Super Elites 125. Former E-Plate winner, Neil Fisher. That's the hero shot, isn't it? Brilliant from Neil Fisher. Good to see he's got his pose face on. And there's Jason Bradbury, another driver who's got plenty of ability in this particular field. He's another driver who just keeps on developing, who just keeps on finding speed and keeps moving forward. I have a feeling that next year will probably be, well, there's still 5 races left of this year. He could still take his first win of birelART in this particular campaign, if not next year for definite. 2 more, always going to give us a bit of entertainment. Dan Walden, who is a race winner this year, of course, took the victory in the final back at Wilton Mill. And the 277, Paul Ozan, who's had a very exciting day at the races so far, right up in that sharp end, and I have a feeling he'll remain there. So there's plenty of drivers, again, up in this top flight of the field who could take a victory off Sam Faulkner, but he's just so strong at the moment. 16 starts, 16 race victories. Can he get another one? It's certainly looking that way at the moment. But what we'd really like, now that we've had the championship leaders win all of the first heats of the day, and we've had 2 new winners across the earlier 2 classes. Aidan Hassan taking his first ever victory in cadet, and Nicky Taylor getting his first ever victory in junior. I'd like someone else to get their first ever victory in Super Elites. So come on, wipe the smile off Sam Faulkner's face, somebody. It's more of a grin than it is a proper beaming smile, to be fair, but Sam Faulkner loves his motorsport. Well, this one could do it. Amy Jurger, 18 months ago, of course, she took the victory in the final at Shenington, so she knows how to win races from the front. This year, focusing more on her education over at Silverstone University Technical College, but still doing a really good job this season. And in terms of her ability, nobody can question her credence as a race winner. Elliot Stanley as well, 6th in last year's standings. Not many people will forget in a hurry, including him, his rather nasty-looking accident last year at Fullbeck, but he has still shown flashes of speed and brilliance ever since that point. An amazing grid. It's really, really strong. They did say at the start of the season this would either be a really difficult year or an absolutely incredible one to combine the 2 125cc classes together, Super Elites and Super Masters in the same grid, and see what happens. Well, it's given us some of the best racing I've ever seen. And when you consider that the statistic of 16 starts to 16 wins sounds dull for Sam Faulkner. I can tell you that every single one of his 16 race wins has been far from dull. It's been absolutely amazing every single time. He's really had to work hard at it. So let's see how they will go into this pre-final. It is going to be a very exciting battle. People watching from all over the country and all over the world, of course. Good luck, Daddy. Baby Max is watching. That's for Dave Burns. So obviously you've got to give him a nice surprise at the end of the day with a good trophy. No pressure or anything. But a really exciting battle. This is going to be a really exciting race performance from the drivers. Joe Patterson, not on the starting grid, but definitely watching as always. Good luck, Sam Dimolo and Tyrone. The Pattersons supporting you out here in Spain. Oh, it's all right for some, isn't it? While we're freezing here. Why aren't you freezing here, Joe? Eh? Answer that one. So it's not going to be too long before we send the drivers out onto the dummy, on the dummy grid, sorry, onto the formation lap. Once again, Megan will wave the green flag and blow the whistle, and we'll be out onto the circuit once again for the start of proceedings in the pre-final of the birelART SuperElites 125cc category carts. These are awesome machines, these. In terms of the power to weight ratio, you are talking Bugatti Veyron sort of speeds off the line. They are very quick. But at the moment, the drivers, of course, will just be getting away fairly casually. They'll want to get the carts relatively up to speed in terms of the brakes and the tyres. Sam Dimolo's having a very nice getaway. Sam Faulkner very nearly didn't get away at all. That could have been a moment. I bet the heartbeat flutters at that sort of moment. But anyway, the drivers are back into position once again. Here's the grid. Sam Faulkner and Sam Dimolo, the two champions from last year. Super Masters versus Super Elite. Dimolo versus Faulkner. Faulkner on the pole position line. Dimolo alongside him. Richard Evans and Tyrone Stansfield. Evans, the Super Elite runner-up last year. Tyrone Stansfield, the junior champion last year. Ben Hitch leading rookie in 5th, along with Matthew Pearce. 3rd in last year's standings, and 3rd in this year's standings as well. They're desperately trying to catch up to the likes of Sam Faulkner and Sam Dimolo. And Richard Evans in the mix there, of course, as well. Harry Barlow and Jim Rainbird, Neil Fisher and Tom Massarella rounding out the top 10. Amazing drivers in this field. Mark Lawrence and Jason Bradbury, of course, in the mix there as well. On the 6th row of the grid, those two. It'll be interesting to see how the likes of Rainbird, Fisher and Lawrence integrate with the front runners, because of course they're fighting for the Grand Masters prize. Then it's Paul Ozan in 13th and Dan Walden in 14th place. And they are in front of the likes of Friday, Jurger, Burns, Checkley, Darling and Moy, with Jurger and Watt on the 8th row of the grid and the other 4 in behind. So time to go racing in the Super Elites pre-final. Let's see what happens in this grueling race once again around the Shenington circuit. It's time to go to battle. Revs will rise. Let's see if it's going to be a clean start. So far, so good. It is. And away we go straight away. Sam Faulkner in the lead. Dimolo trying to get one over on him immediately. Not quite able to off the start. And it looks as though one group was way out in front of the other group. So the race is going to continue. But this amazing tussle for the victory is already beginning into the Stratford hairpin as Sam Dimolo protected the inside line. Sam Dimolo 2nd, Richard Evans in 3rd in front of Tyrone Stansfield. Oh, it's a false start. It's a false start. So they are going to go round again by the look of it. Well, I did wonder because there were 2 groups separated. So they are going to go round again. I wasn't entirely sure. So this is going to be a really exciting battle. Let's see how it works out. Sam Dimolo has got to try and beat Sam Faulkner off the line if he wants to stand a chance of beating him in a straight fight this season. Is he going to be the first man to do so? Nobody has yet beaten Sam Faulkner in a straight fight. Richard Evans came the closest. He is there in 3rd position on the grid. If they get a good start, this could be the moment. Here we go, the engine revs rise, and this time I think we're going to get a clean start. Yes, we do. This is much better, and immediately... Oh, Richard Evans has come together with Sam Dimolo. Dimolo rolls it. Oh, dear, oh, dear. That is a big moment, and that's going to be a red flag, almost certainly. Well, Dimolo's gone up and over. Contact with Richard Evans, and we are red flags. Red flags, no surprises. Goodness me. That was a very nasty moment. So we are red flag at the moment. And I don't really have any hesitation in explaining and justifying that one. Ambulance is on the scene. Well, big moment there, as we obviously have a little bit of a clean-up job in order. So the red flags are out as the safety teams go into their procedure. So we obviously have to make sure that everybody is okay. And I can tell you that Sam Dimolo is up. So that is good. Thank goodness for that. Applause from around the circuit. So Sam Dimolo is shaken, not stirred. So let's have a look at it again. Goodness me, that's a big amount of airtime, and that would have hurt. That would have really scratched his shoulder blades there. A couple of drivers having to take avoiding action at the start. Elliot Stanley and Dave Burns going around, but I can tell you that Sam Dimolo is up. He's okay. He's going to get some checks from the medical team. Let's watch it again. Perfect start from Sam Faulkner, jockeying for position. Richard Evans had the inside line, and they just rubbed wheels at the wrong point. Ouch. That is a proper nasty roll. Goodness me. Well, I can tell you he is up. He's getting checks from the medical team. Just double checking everything. And so far, all I've seen is thumbs up, so that's good. But dear, oh dear, that is a very, very nasty looking accident. And fortunately, I think we've got away with that one without too many major problems. So it looked pretty awful. But I think it's just appearances that make it look bad. I've often said that in motor racing, it's the accidents that look horrific that are usually the ones you can walk away from, strangely enough. But on this occasion, a little bit of a bump and bore through the first corner. Medical checks with Zaf and the team. But otherwise, I think we're going to be all right on that one. And Sam Dimolo, sadly, will take no further part in the pre-final. But thank goodness that's the only thing that is going to be a negative out of that one. That would have been a very nasty scrape. There are the drivers on the hangar straight, and they're now basically discussing what happens next. The person I feel most sorry for in all of this is Richard Evans, because it'd be very easy to look at that incident and say that, you know, something untoward happened, but it's racing. You know, the two of them are going to get together and have a battle. They just rubbed wheels in the wrong moment. That was not Evans's fault. That was not Dimolo's fault. They're racing drivers. They're going to battle for position, and they just rubbed wheels at exactly the wrong point. It happens sometimes. You know, this is motor racing. So they're both very lucky to get away with that one without too much damage, but that is a very nasty start to a race. And fortunately, Sam Dimolo is going to be okay by the look of it. He's just had a few checks. And this is one of those situations where you can't think about it. You can't let yourself you can't get that under your skin. You just have to move on. You have to forget about what's happened, and then you have to process what's happened next. Now, Richard Evans has left his kart, and he's walked away. And he's now walking down the back straight, so I wonder if he's just basically going to check and make sure that Sam is okay. And I can understand exactly why he would do that, because there is an automatic feeling of responsibility in a situation like that. Matt Daniels just explaining to him what happened, and Richard Evans just clarifying, you know, this is what happened. We were racing together into the first corner. We both went for the line. You know, we just rubbed wheels. You know, I didn't do anything silly, nor did he. It's just a racing incident. You know, that's what happened. So they're just clarifying what the situation is, but I didn't see anything wrong in that at all, to be perfectly honest. That's motor racing. You're both going to go for the same bit of racetrack, and they're not the widest things in the world, these karts. So when you get two that are battling for the same bit of racetrack, as racing drivers will do, all it takes is the slightest rub of two wheels at the same point, and that's what happens. I want to see it again, actually, because now we know that Sam Dimolo is okay. I'd quite like to have another look at it, because obviously it's one of those situations where, you know, the analysis of it is obviously one of the more fascinating elements. But Sam is okay. He's upright. He's in the ambulance just getting a check. So I'd quite like, if we can, to have another look at that incident from the start one more time. Let's have a look at it. So good move off the start. Richard Evans has taken his normal racing line for the inside line at the start. Dimolo's just trying to hold it around the outside. And look, there's nowhere for either of them to go. It's a nasty impact, but you can't blame either driver for that incident. That's motor racing. That is a normal race start. And on that occasion, they just happened to have rubbed wheels with each other. So again, you know, seeing that a third time, I don't see anything in that that would make me blame one driver over the other. That was not any driver of the two of them making a silly maneuver. That was motor racing. And occasionally, it just happens like that. So, it's going to be a difficult start to the race without Sam Dimolo. It's not quite going to be the start that we wanted to see. But having seen it a few times, I'm interested to hear some of your comments watching on the live stream, actually, because obviously there are a few racing drivers who are watching. And I know we've obviously had a couple of comments. Kieran Maudsley wrote in, that's another Ian Williams moment. Yes, it was, because Ian, of course, had his rather nasty scare on the final lap of his race at Wilton Mill, which almost ended his season for good. He managed to get out at Glenagorse, but now, of course, Ian Williams is on our camera crew for the remainder of the season. While we're just getting the drivers ready to go, can we have a look at that one last time, actually? Because it would be good to see what you guys on the stream thought of it. Let's have one more look at it. Normal race start. Faulkner's got the inside line. Richard Evans is tucking in behind him as normal. And look, they just rub wheels. There's nothing you can do in that situation. Nothing wrong with either of them in that particular incident, in my view. What do you guys watching the stream at home make of it? And well done to everybody for avoiding a bigger accident, it has to be said. It's one of those things. Fortunately, I think Sam Dimolo's got a nice scar to take home, but apparently he's got a slight cut to his leg. I'm not surprised, to be honest. I'm surprised he hasn't got a massive bruise on the back of his shoulder blade, but knowing Sam Dimolo, that would just be a battle scar as far as he's concerned. He loves his motor racing, and I know Sam quite well these days. He probably would have come out of that and gone, oh, that was a nasty one. That's just Sam Dimolo's way. He just takes everything on the chin. So let's have a look. Now here's an interesting opinion, and it comes from Joe Pattison, one of the front runners in the past. Racing incident, no one in the wrong. I completely agree, Joe. Absolutely right. That is a racing incident. If you expect these guys to tippy-toe into the first corner of a race, then they're not racing drivers. They both went for the same bit of track, battling for position. I'm not going to point the finger at either of them and say, you did something wrong. If you're going to casually go through turn one, then you're not racing, are you? It happens occasionally. It's been a long time since we've had an accident as big as that in birelART, but full credit to everyone on the staff. They responded to the incident exactly as they should have done. The safety crew was there within seconds of the red flag, and straight away the right attention was given. There's Andy Cox just explaining the procedure now, and the good thing is there are smiles and there are jokes down there. There would not be if it was a serious aftermath. Just Sam, our live timing man, chatting away with Andy Cox and the drivers. They're all looking at that one, and I have a feeling the conversation has gone, yeah, he's all right. He's a bit giggly about it. He's just brushed it off and it's all fine. That seems like the sort of conversation that Sam Dimolo would have. He probably got out the cart and went, can we get the cart started again? That's Sam Dimolo all over, isn't it? No, I'm afraid you can't, mate. I'm afraid you can't. But what we will get now, of course, is in the final, if he is signed off to race, which he probably will be, actually, looking at the way he got up pretty quickly after the red flags, I would not at all be surprised if Sam Dimolo could start the final again. That wouldn't surprise me. So it just depends on how much damage the cart has taken, really, more than anything else. So the drivers are getting back into position, and they're starting up the engines again. So we will go around for another formation lap, and then we will start the race as if it was a fresh restart. So for those of you just joining us, expecting to see the pre-final or tuning in time for the finals, well, don't worry. We are still relatively on schedule. The SuperElites pre-final is about to be restarted after an incident at the start between Richard Evans and Sam Dimolo, in which Sam Dimolo rolled his car at this point. But we will have a look at that incident again after the race, of course. We won't need to now, because obviously we're going to get on with the pre-final itself. What this does mean, though, of course, is that one of Sam Faulkner's strongest opponents for the race victory in the pre-final has now been taken away from him. And that's a difficult moment for the opponents of Sam Faulkner. For Faulkner, he will probably shrug his shoulders and say, oh well, c'est la guerre. Well, he might do, but he's studying English at Oxford from what I hear, so probably wouldn't say that. He'd probably say something a little bit more flippant. Drivers in the pre-final just getting themselves into position. They've got to shake it off. They've got to get back into racing once again. And it's going to be Sam Faulkner and Richard Evans on the front row of the grid this time now, from Tyrone Stansfield and Ben Hitch, Matthew Pearce and Harry Barlow, Rainbird, Fisher, Massarella. Here they go. Let's ride it up. Is it going to be a good start? Yes, it is. And away we go. Faulkner straight into the lead, and Stansfield straight through in his second place. Terrific getaway. There's some good moves in the mid-pack as drivers are trying to come through. But a really good start to proceedings as they come off of Cafe Corner and down towards Stratford Hairpin. Stansfield there in second position, trying to take on Sam Faulkner straight away. He may get some support here from Richard Evans as they charge after Sam Faulkner. You may want to work together here, boys. If you're going to beat Sam Faulkner, it's going to need to be a union. And as the drivers tiptoe their way through Bruno Chicane, a much cleaner start this time. Stansfield has got Evans right behind him for support. We'll get him, but we're going to need to work together. Evans decides to play the Lone Ranger, dives up the inside of Stansfield and goes for second. Now you're going to help me catch Sam Faulkner. And if you keep squabbling amongst yourselves, Faulkner's going to get away before you've got a chance to set up a game plan. Hitch, however, is up into fourth place. Great work from Ben Hitch on the start. Then it is Harry Barlow in front of Matthew Pearce. Rainbird, Fisher, Lawrence, Ozan, Bradbury, Massarella. Then Dan Walden in front of Amy Jurger and Elliot Stanley. So it is Burns, Sean Port, Will Checkley. Then Carl Watt from George Friday, Oliver Moore and David Darling. So as they go down towards the Wilkins hairpin for the second time in this race, it is a pretty exciting start to it for the leading four. They have broken clear. Faulkner's got half a second on Richard Evans already. Stansfield is third. Hitch is in fourth. Trying to go with them is Harry Barlow. Then Matthew Pearce, who doesn't quite have the outright pace he wanted after qualifying. He's there in sixth position at the moment. Then it is Rainbird, Fisher and Lawrence. Then Ozan. And then it is Bradbury from Dan Walden, who's making up the progress and making up places. Here's Matthew Pearce trying to hang on in front of Rainbird and Fisher. Mark Lawrence is in the mix there as well. This is why these guys go racing in Super Elites, because it's so much fun. It's really close. And it doesn't matter if you're fighting for the victory or fighting in the midfield, you are still going to have an amazingly intense battle. And that is what these guys sign up for. They sign up for great racing, close, very tight battles. There are no teams, so there's no politics. Everybody just has a laugh. And they're all there because they want the pure sport of racing. Ozan getting a little bit wide there. And that's enough for Massarella to get up the inside and get the place. So Massarella comes through. Harry Barlow, meanwhile, has got onto the back of the top four. It's now a top 5 kart train. Now, if the four of them, Evans, Stansfield, Hitch and Barlow, can just work together, whoopsie-daisy, that's the 197 going wide. That is a bit of a moment there for Dave Burns, as Mark Lawrence appears to have lost a couple of places there. Not sure what happened there, but Stanley and Jurger have both gone through. Well, I think Jurger hasn't, but Stanley certainly has. So they're tightening up as they come through. Here's Faulkner in the lead. Up towards us, then it's Evans, Stansfield, Hitch and Barlow. And then the gap is pretty huge, actually, back to sixth position. As we watch Matthew Pearce in front of Rainbird, Fisher, Bradbury and Dan Walden. So Mark Lawrence has lost quite a few places, unfortunately. Not quite sure why he's tumbled down to 14th. But a very exciting battle all the way through. Sam Faulkner, Richard Evans, Tyrone Stansfield, Ben Hitch and Harry Barlow is your top 5 at the moment. Then it's this battle between Pearce, Rainbird, Fisher, Bradbury and Dan Walden. Watch Walden, he got so much curb on the way through Hanger Corner. I thought he was going to get a move there into Wilkins on Jason Bradbury, but he just caught a little bit too much curb on the way through, and that shut down the move for the moment. Sam Faulkner still breaking away. The gap is now 0.8 of a second. So a really good opportunity. Undone, unfortunately. But Faulkner, Evans, Stansfield, Hitch and Barlow, that's your top 5. There they go, out of your picture. Making their way through the Bruno chicane now, trying to close up on Sam Faulkner in the lead of the race once again. Up towards the hairpin once more. Let's see how this one works out. Hitch tucked up behind Tyrone Stansfield with Harry Barlow in 5th position. Just reeling him in as they come off the turn again, over the line and up through towards Park Bend and into Cafe Corner. Richard Evans hanging on to 2nd for the moment in front of Tyrone Stansfield, but the gap has already opened up to a 2nd. Sam Faulkner out front. Absolutely unbelievable how he's been able to find this sort of speed. But yet again, Faulkner just disappears out in front of birelART Series races. They go through in Bruno chicane and off onto the back straight again. So Sam Faulkner leading, Richard Evans second from Stansfield, Hitch and Barlow. Pearce is there in 6th place. Up the inside goes Stansfield and takes 2nd place from Richard Evans. Nice move from Stansfield. And that is almost certainly going to lead, if he finishes where he is, to his highest ever finish in the birelART Super Elites. He's had a 2nd and a 3rd already this season. A really good performance thus far, and he is pushing his way forward. Really good racing at the moment from Faulkner and Stansfield up in front. Evans is trying to hang on in front of Ben Hitch. Ben Hitch giving him a bit of a challenge at the moment. Hitch is still there, round the outside! Hitch gets in a 3rd. Brilliant moves from Ben Hitch. His first season in Super Elites. He is the rookie. You can see the black boarded plate on the white numbers denotes him as a rookie. The others, of course, have all been here for quite a while. Tyrone Stansfield and Harry Barlow as cadets and then juniors. 1 and 2 in the championship last year. Stansfield ahead of Barlow in juniors. They both stepped up to Super Elites this year. One of them's ahead of Hitch and Evans. The other one is just reeling them in behind. But that's Faulkner at 1.5 seconds further up the road. Evans dives back for the inside of Hitch. Is Barlow going to get there as well? Not quite. He has to wait for his moment. Matthew Pearce in 6th position has finally dropped the battle behind, but that's because up to the front of that queue has now come Dan Walden, and there is a great little duel for position between Fisher and Rainbird. Fisher has just got through past Jim Rainbird for the moment. They come off of the Wilkins hairpin and back up the straight once again. So let's see what happens in through the first corner. Faulkner continuing to lead the battle at the moment. There's Matthew Pearce, there's Walden, and here's that battle between Fisher and Massaralla now. So Rainbird has fallen back. Not sure what's happened to him. Oh, he's now at the back of the queue. So Bradbury and Ozan have both got past him. Look at the squabbles all the way through this field. I want to be out there with them. If I wasn't commentating, I would be. Oh, a big dive from Massaralla on the inside of Fisher. Has that one worked? They're still side by side. Massarella's had to hang back. Fisher's got through. Bradbury's got Rainbird to his right side. And it's all fisticuffs now as Bradbury goes out wide. Fisher gets through. Elliot Stanley trying to make up a place or two in the mix there as well in the 6. But Bradbury is now in front of Rainbird. Disappointing only to see one of the 2SM branded drivers. The other one, of course, Ben Yeomans, not here for some reason. And he would be one of the drivers trying to take the victory to Sam Faulkner. So really good start to proceedings thus far from the Super Elites. But Faulkner is your leader. Second is Stansfield. Then Evans, Hitch, Barlow, Pearce, Walden, Fisher, Massaralla, Ozan and Bradbury. Just a whisker in front of Jim Rainbird. An amazing field of karts this in the 125cc Super Elites. A really good field of racing. And the combination of the Super Elites and Super Masters for 2018 really does work. We get amazing racing and everybody's had to raise their game in terms of ability. Is up the inside of Will Checkley. That's a bold move from Carl Watt, and through with him has gone Mark Lawrence. So Checkley sadly losing 2 places in that little moment. Here again comes Burns onto the back of Elliot Stanley. So let's see how he will continue on for the remainder of this race. Sam Faulkner, by the way, is still leading, 1.9 seconds now in front of Tyrone Stansfield. There is Stansfield in front of Evans, Hitch and Barlow. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. 2 seconds up the road. There he is. You just caught a flash of him. That is Sam Faulkner, still leading the way. A really exciting duel as things currently stand. But it looks as though it's going to continue to go the way of Sam Faulkner. 17th start, and it looks like it's going to be his 17th win because of the way that the drop scores work and the fact that he has currently not competed at one meeting and therefore has no results to drop, but also didn't compete in the Wilton Mill round. He can't win the title until the last round of the championship. So it is time to take it all the way down to the wire, but we're still going to get some good races to lead up to it as Ozan makes a big lunge on the inside of Neil Fisher. And Fisher manages to retaliate, but Ozan's got a good run off the turn. So they're going to go side by side into Hanger Corner. In fact, they went 3 wide as Ozan got there on the inside. And it looks to me as though Bradbury was in the mix there as well. They went 3 wide, these three. Here they come. So Bradbury in there with Neil Fisher and Paul Ozan. Ozan is now at the front of the queue. Bradbury next, then Fisher. They were 3 wide down the hanger straight that time. But out in front, no change as the final seconds tick down, and Sam Faulkner is on his penultimate lap as a result of all that. So he will lead the way on this final tour of the Shenington circuit. But the second place battle is not quite wrapped up yet. Stansfield still has a very good shout. Stansfield from Evans, Hitch and Barlow as Sam Faulkner goes into his last lap. Stansfield in second place, Evans is third, Bradbury having a good run at Paul Ozan on your screens as he tries to battle away for position. We're on the last lap as you can see, and down at the Stratford hairpin, there is Sam Faulkner leading the way on his last lap for what is set to be win number 17 on his 17th start this year. It is an astonishing record, and it is still not going to be beaten yet. So the field will come through. Sam Faulkner into the last corner, and what a result, what a performance. He drives away, 17 out of 17 for Sam Faulkner. The records just keep extending. Absolutely fantastic. Tyrone Stansfield in second place, third position for Richard Evans, Hitch is fourth, Barlow is fifth, Pearce is in sixth in front of Dan Walden. Then it's Massaralla in eighth place in front of Paul Ozan and Jason Bradbury rounding up the top 10. Great racing all the way to the flag, but how tough was that? There's your result. Sam Faulkner, 17 wins from 17 starts. It's hard to think it's going to be anybody other than Sam who wins back-to-back titles in Super Elites 125s. Tyrone Stansfield a good second though from Evans, Hitch and Barlow, with Matthew Pearce, Dan Walden, Tom Massaralla, Paul Ozan and Jason Bradbury rounding out the top 10. We're already getting ourselves ready for the cadets final, so let's take a quick look at the highlights from that race as we're getting them out there. Here's the big one, of course, that incident at the start. That was the first start, I think, when they had to go around again. And then we got the mother of all accidents into turn one. Ready? Evans on the inside, Dimolo on the outside, bang! That was a nasty one, but fortunately, Sam Dimolo is okay. A really nasty roll, but he's all right. Richard Evans having a good battle with Tyrone Stansfield in the early stages of that one. But Sam Faulkner disappearing out in front. Once Stansfield got through into second, that was it, all she wrote. And Sam Faulkner winning again. This is where Stansfield made his move for second place. Beautifully done into Wilkins. Beautifully sewn up, but Sam Faulkner out front, just giant crushing. Absolutely incredible. Some great battles in the midfield, of course. But it's the one at the front that makes it all the difference. Sam Faulkner, 17 wins out of 17. Well, after 2 epic races from the cadets and the juniors, we now have to do it all again for the Super Elites 125. And I don't know how it gets more exciting than that. But this man has got all the pressure on his shoulders at the moment. Sam Faulkner, 17 starts this year, 17 wins. It's been a perfect record book. And although that might sound dull, he's had to work tooth and nail for every single one of those 17 race victories. He's really had to nail it together and be absolutely spot on perfect every time. This man, Richard Evans, has come the closest, it has to be said, to taking a victory away from him. Was leading going into the final lap at Fullbeck before a throttle issue left him out of luck. But now he has got an opportunity once again. I'm just looking down the grid to see if I can see our friend Sam Dimolo. And I can report that Sam Dimolo is going to be starting the race. That is very good news. Obviously, a very nasty moment that we saw in the pre-final from him at the original start. We saw Sam Dimolo have a monumental accident as he duelled away with Richard Evans into the first corner. They just touched wheels, easy to do, and unfortunately it meant that Dimolo just went for a barrel roll. It was a very nasty accident, it has to be said, but fortunately they have come out the other side in one piece. But Sam Dimolo will take up the restart. That is the good news. So expect him to charge his way through the field. But I tell you what, these Super Elites are going to have to roll their socks up if they're going to even come close to matching the type of duels we've had from the birelART Cadets and the birelART Juniors. Those were two of the most exciting races I have ever seen in karting. And certainly that last junior lap, that was the most chaotic, crazy, stupendous lap I have ever seen in birelART Junior. Unbelievable. So now they've got to do it for the Super Elites. And this time it is going to be Tyrone Stansfield on the front row of the grid alongside Sam Faulkner. So Richard Evans started on the front row, couldn't quite beat Sam Faulkner to the first corner. Sam Dimolo then started on the front row, couldn't quite beat Sam Faulkner to the first corner. Can Tyrone Stansfield do it? It's going to be a very tough race, that is for certain. And with Richard Evans in third position, there is definitely going to be a lot of contention for this win. But alongside him on the grid is the dark horse for the victory for me, this one, Ben Hitch. I've got a feeling about Ben this weekend. He just seems to be in the right place at the right time every single time. He could just get this one. If anyone's going to beat Sam Faulkner, it may be the one we're least expecting. There's Harry Barlow and Dan Walden, who has suddenly got himself back into contention for a race victory. He worked very hard indeed in that pre-final, picked off a lot of his opponents, and now for the final, he's in a good position. He's in P7 on the inside line, so he could be another contender for this. It's not about where you start the races from, it's where you finish them, and Dan Walden's been very good at bringing himself back. There's Matthew Pearce chatting away there with Ben Hitch. The conversation looking for something very similar to, how do we beat Sam Faulkner? Have you got any ideas? Oh, I've got plenty. I'm just not sharing them with you. I want to win. But it's really, really exciting in Super Elites 125. And when we consider what's coming in 2019, we're all still being very tight-lipped and secretive about it, but we know it's going to be big. If you see the kind of racing we've had here today, coupled with what's coming for the package in 2019, oh boy, there's not many people in British karting who are going to want to race anywhere else other than here. Cheap to run, cheap to race, no teams, no politics, just racing. And some of the best racing I've ever seen. You can say that for that today. Absolutely brilliant. There's Tom Massaralla getting himself ready for action. Swings and roundabouts for Tom Massaralla today, but very much in with a good contention of a decent result again. So let's see how it all works out. They are watching from all over the world here today. We've had some comments in from Belgium. We've had some comments from Australia, as we usually do, from the Friday's contingent. We had someone from South Korea watching earlier, and we've even got somebody out at Le Mans. Matteo Serenetti from Arrival Championship says, great race and superb commentary. Who was that then? Oh, some fat bloke. I haven't got a clue who he is. Thank you, Matteo. Grazie. Grazie mille. So we're going to have a very exciting battle for this last race of the weekend and the third and final race for the Super Elites 125 this weekend. But what's really impressive is that even if Sam Faulkner takes the victory today, he will still have to battle for the title at Wilton Mill. Having missed the weekend at Wilton earlier in the season, he will still have to go to the title with the potential that if he doesn't get there, if he doesn't have a good weekend, then there is a good chance that he could have the title taken away from him. One killer weekend, one killer race. That's all it will take for Sam Faulkner. Joe Patterson, who is a former racer and former champion in the birelART series, was watching earlier. He told us he's on daddy daycare 24-hour duty. That's why he's not racing at the moment. Pay a babysitter. Get back on the grid, mate. He says that this could be the weekend where Sam Faulkner loses his winning streak. Have you been here? Have you seen his form at the moment? It doesn't look that way to me. He's been absolutely incredible so far this year. But we're going to see some really exciting battles from this final race of the day, final race of the weekend, as the holding area is still all abuzz at the moment. There's still some absolutely amazing scenes of joy and euphoria down in the pits here in the juniors because of all the action. And to be fair, that is a lap that I would not want to be in the shoes of Matt Daniels for, because obviously the clerk of the course, he's got a lot of work to untangle what happened on that final lap, but that was terrific racing, absolutely terrific racing, and by 0.02 of a second, a race victory. I haven't seen a finish as close as that in the birelART paddock for a while. I'd love to have seen a photo finish of that, but 0.02 of a second was the victory. I was at a race last weekend where we had a photo finish between 3 karts, and that's the closest finish I've ever seen in karting since the birth of the sport in 1959. birelART obviously saw that and went, nah, we can do better than that. 0.02 of a second. Not bad, boys, not bad. So now we're waiting for the signal to send the drivers out for the last time this weekend. People often say to me, well, the birelART series, you don't get as many races in a day as you do in some of the other championships. Well, I know that, but they're not as good as these. These are the best. Absolutely amazing. I love watching these. When you put them all in equal equipment, they all have the same chassis, the same Miami engines, the same Vega tires, the same fuel, the same components. Everything is identical. It comes down to the steely nerve of the mechanic, just the one of those, by the way, and the driver. It's a two-man battle with your machine and your racing ability, and we get to see some of the best racing you'll ever see anywhere in British karting as a result of it. I adore birelART series with my whole heart, and I think you're going to have to wrestle this job away from me by my cold, dead fingers. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world right now, not with this kind of show. Harry Barlow gets himself ready for action again, as too does Dan Walden. This will be a very tough battle, a very, very tough race. 14 minutes plus 1 lap, and it's the penultimate race of the championship season. All of the drivers on this grid except one have got one thing on their mind: beat Sam Faulkner, break that run. But 17 wins out of 17. The thing is, even they are surprised by just how dominant Sam has been. That sounds like a boring stat, that he's won all the races he started, but you have to take into account that each of those 17 races have been an incredibly tough struggle to get there. He has not made it look dominant on every occasion. There are races where he's got away and pulled clear, but there are others that he has basically had to wrestle for right from the depths of defeat. So this has been by far and away Sam Faulkner's strongest season, but he wants to keep it going all the way to the finish. And if he can get the clean sweep, I mean, it's not every race this year, but certainly every race he started would be very pleasant indeed, as the Shenington Air Club just behind us puts on a nice free display for us. It's always been a lovely feature of Shenington when you come here. You always get some nice aerobatics overhead to support the racing. But here at Shenington, it is going to conclude in a fantastic fight to the very end of the weekend. The gate is raised, and Megan has blown the whistle. So this is it, the last race of the weekend, and the birelART SuperElites 125 final. It is time to go to battle. One last time this weekend at Shenington. Pick a winner, because I certainly can't. It would be very easy to just turn and say Faulkner in his current form, but there are so many motivated drivers who are going to charge forward to get there. And even if he does win an 18th out of 18, then the battle behind is certainly not going to make you fall asleep. It's going to be absolutely nail-biting to the end. For Oliver Moy, though, it's a very irritating start to the race. Hopefully he is going to get out there, but at the moment it looks as though problems from his earlier pre-final have come back to haunt him. I wonder if Oliver Moy is even going to get started. That is such a shame. One of the drivers who's come up from juniors last year to get into the mix, and now it looks as though he's going to be frustrated. But now it is time for the last race of the weekend and the penultimate weekend of the season to come to a close as we get ready for the season finale next time out at Wilton Mill a month from now. But there's one more race to get there. And as you noticed from the very back of the grid, after his barrel roll in the pre-final, Sam Dimolo shaken but not stirred, is back in contention, and he will charge his way forward. There he is. Watch him in this race. He is going to be absolutely incredible, and I think he's actually got someone else's race suit on there. I'm not at all surprised, because I think his one has taken a bit of a knock in the first race. In the second race, I should say. He's very lucky to be starting at all, to be honest. Well, I think they've got Oliver Moy's engine started, so I think he's going to start the race from the pit lane. So Oliver Moy will start the race when the field has gone through. In fact, they are going to bid it a false start. So they have decided to bid it a false start. This is one of the things I like about birelART Series UK. Being a non-MSA championship, we have our own regulations about these sorts of things, and if there's a chance to get the driver back out onto the race, we'll take it. Never leave a man behind. That is the way we do things here at birelART UK. Joy Morse is watching. Unfortunately, that little GIF doesn't come up. I was going to try and demonstrate it was a minion on the live stream. I have to say, I have exactly the same emotions as a minion at the moment. Euphoric, childish joy as we get ourselves ready for the final race of the weekend. And it looks to me as though they're going to go around for a fourth formation lap. They have indeed. Is that because Oliver Moy has broken down? I hope not. I hope he's going to get himself back into position. Yes, he is. So that's good news. So the field is going to form up again. And they will go around the Shenington circuit one more time. And hopefully this time we'll get a race underway. Now, Stansfield, Evans, Barlow and Hitch, right in there behind our pole sitter Sam Faulkner, will all be thinking the same thing. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a weakness to beat Sam Faulkner. There's got to be a way to do it. Surely we can unlock it here. We can untap it here at Shenington. They need to make a bold lunge. They need to make a big move. And they need to phase him out. But Sam Faulkner in a birelART, it's just a bit like Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari days. It's so hard to beat him. And this year, nobody has done so. There's been one weekend when he's not been there, and then we had 3 different winners in the 3 races, namely Richard Evans, Sam Dimolo and Dan Walden. But away we go this time, and it is a perfect start. Oh, and there's been a bit of an incident behind as Neil Fisher, Dave Burns and Paul Ozan have gone off. They managed to get going again, but out in front, it makes no difference as Sam Faulkner leads the way. Richard Evans is immediately starting to come after him. So I think this time Richard Evans could be putting up a real assault on Sam Faulkner. Already Sam Dimolo has made up some pretty big moves. He's gone up about 5 places already. Make that 6 if you count Neil Fisher having spun. But here is Richard Evans making a big lunge for Sam Faulkner immediately. Sam Faulkner's going to break very late for the Wilkins hairpin, but Evans is going to stay right in there. Harry Barlow's now up to 3rd in front of Tyrone Stansfield and Ben Hitch. So let's see how it all phases out. In 6th position, that is Dan Walden, I think. So Walden is there in position, trying to tag onto the back of the drivers in the mix. And as they come through, it's a fairly clean start other than that little slip up, but all 3 of the drivers are now still moving. But out in front, it is Sam Faulkner who leads the way. 2nd position, no questions asked for Richard Evans at the moment. He's going to wait for his moment, but he'll get some support from Harry Barlow. And then Tyrone Stansfield in there in P4 from Ben Hitch and Dan Walden. Here goes Richard Evans making his first serious challenge on Sam Faulkner. And Harry Barlow's going to get through as well. Harry Barlow in a 2nd place, so Faulkner down to 3rd. So Evans is leading, Barlow in 2nd, Faulkner trying to come back from 3rd position. Stansfield may get a run at him. It seems almost as if they're all trying to gang up on Sam Faulkner and make the challenge to come through. So as I keep saying, although he's had a 17 out of 17 winning rate, Faulkner has had to fight for these victories every single time. Evans still leads. They're shutting down the door to Faulkner. Faulkner's going to get alongside Barlow. Barlow just chops across to stop the move happening into Bruno chicane. But Faulkner is relentless. He's got Kimi Räikkönen style moves. He gestures to Barlow. I'll work with you. We'll get back on with Richard Evans. And here goes Barlow. Up to the lead. Barlow takes the lead from Richard Evans. Evans hangs on to 2nd. Stansfield has got a run on Faulkner as a result of him having to back off the draft. But he's not quite able to get into 3rd position. So Harry Barlow leads the way. What a feeling it would be for Harry Barlow to be the man who beat Sam Faulkner in a straight fight in Super Elites. That would really put a feather in the cap. So Harry Barlow leads the way. Richard Evans in second position. That looks like Massarala trying to make a move a little bit further back as he duels with Dan Walden. Hasn't quite made the move. So again, Harry Barlow showing his excellence in birelART. He leads the way here at Shenington. Richard Evans is right behind him. Third position, Sam Faulkner, and it looks like Matthew Pearce has made a very bold move for fourth position, and it's stuck on Tyrone Stansfield. So Matthew Pearce is into fourth place. Good move from Pearce as Faulkner goes for the inside of Richard Evans and takes second place. So Faulkner is back. He gets in a second. Now he's after Harry Barlow. Can Richard Evans make the bid to get past Sam Faulkner? It's not going to happen yet. Into the braking zone, and I think that's another brave move made up by Sam Dimolo there as he makes another good overtake. Sam Faulkner just sat in second position with Richard Evans and Matthew Pearce for company. Tyrone Stansfield is fifth, Ben Hitch is sixth. Here's the move going to come now from Faulkner. I think he's going to try and second guess where he's going to go for the lunge on Barlow. Barlow moves to protect, and Pearce goes for third. I think Matthew Pearce has made that stick into third place on Stansfield. Evans, where's Evans gone? He's down to fifth. So Evans is down into fifth position as a result of all of that. But Sam Faulkner now right in behind Harry Barlow. Barlow's going to try and protect to the inside line. There's no way Faulkner's going to get through there. Beautiful from Barlow. This has really been one of the first times that Harry Barlow and Sam Faulkner have been in a straight fight. Can Barlow hang on in front of Sam Faulkner? This is going to be a tough fight, and Barlow knows it. Faulkner's going to try and get the run up alongside him. Surely there's going to be enough space as Massarala picks up a penalty. Faulkner dives through on Barlow, and that could be job done. Well, I keep saying that Faulkner has to fight to win these races, but he's always up for the fight. And again, he doesn't make it look easy, but he definitely fights from position. So Faulkner leads Barlow, Pearce, Evans, Stansfield and Hitch, and it looks to me as though Massarala is going to pick up a penalty from somewhere. I'm not sure what's happened to him, but he's now down at the back of the field in behind Dan Walden. So Walden and Massarala appear to have had an incident somewhere, and Massarala unfortunately has picked up a penalty for it, while Walden is down to 19th, Massarala's down to 21st. Some great racing in the mid-pack there as well. That is Jim Rainbird in front of Mark Lawrence and Sam Dimolo. Sam Dimolo's on a charge. Lawrence is going to try for the inside of Rainbird. So Sam Dimolo has obviously borrowed a pair of overalls for this race, looking at it. He's got his spares on, actually. He has another pair of overalls he needs just in case. So he's had to put on his spare overalls for this race. He's gone proper old school there. Sam Faulkner leading the way, Barlow in second place, but Barlow is not letting Faulkner get too far ahead. He is trying to stay with him, but having made the move, Faulkner is now pretty much looking to be in, well, he's threatening invincible mode again. Here's Rainbird, Lawrence and Dimolo. Then it's Sean Port who's made a great comeback, up to 11th place now. Elliot Stanley's in the mix as well. This is what we came to do, isn't it? We are having an amazing play out there on the circuit. As they come off Wilkins. Rainbird, Bradbury, this is further up. This is Matthew Pearce versus Richard Evans as they duel for third. Trying to close up. Meanwhile, Rainbird has shaken off the attentions of Sam Dimolo for the moment. Dimolo's just got him back round the outside. So Dimolo has taken the place, and that puts Sam Dimolo up into 9th. A few good moves there into the braking zone for the Stratford hairpin as Elliot Stanley gets the moves there on Carl Watt. So Elliot Stanley and Ami Jurger, I think, got through as well, actually. So Ami Jurger managing to make a place there on Carl Watt in the 298. But I think that is Carl Watt straight back up the inside, having taken the place back. Matthew Pearce still chasing after Richard Evans in their fight for third place. But Sam Faulkner has Harry Barlow breathing down his neck. The two of them running out in front. Richard Evans in third, Matthew Pearce in fourth position. A nice dive up the inside of David Darling from Paul Ozan, a little bit further back. And these two, you can see them now on the stream, having a nice little battle. There's the battle for third with Richard Evans, Pearce, Stansfield and Hitch. And not far behind them is Jason Bradbury, who again is one of those drivers who just appears from nowhere, but tags himself into the right place at the right time. And this could be a really nice end to his weekend if he can pick up a decent top 6 finish here. He's in the right place, and it's definitely the right time. 6.5 minutes plus the additional lap to go in this weekend, as well as this race. So Faulkner, Barlow, and then this fight for third position. Pearce is not quite able to run as close to Evans as he would like, as Jim Rainbird has pulled into the pits. Jim Rainbird is out of the race. Looks to me as though Oliver Moy has gone out of the race as well. But a very sad end to the race for those two. For Moy and now for Rainbird, he's pulled off. I wonder if it's just got too physical, because he keeps joking, you know, I'm not sure I can cope with this. We did see a couple of times a few drivers have ended up pulling off because the physicality of these karts just gets to you after a while. And it would not at all surprise me. These are very tough karts to race. Incredibly strong and very physical. Even though it is a national championship, which is non-MSA, it is incredibly strenuous, and you've got to put your A game on. Now, where's Neil Fisher gone? Because Neil Fisher appears to have disappeared from the fray as well. I think he may also have... oh no, he's not retired. He's just dropped all the way down to 20th, unfortunately. So problems in the race for Neil Fisher mean he has dropped a long way back, but now he is pulling in. I thought he was retiring from the race, but now he has retired from the race. So Sam Faulkner leading Harry Barlow, still by less than a second, but it's enough to be comfortable for the moment. He just needs to keep it together. Richard Evans in third. Pearce is trying to stay with them. Ben Hitch having now got up into fifth place past Tyrone Stansfield. Then seventh is Bradbury. Eighth place is now Dimolo. Incredible. Dimolo has fought his way all the way back to eighth position. So the 1-2-5 elites are going to give us a great run to the flag. Dimolo currently battling with Mark Lawrence, who looks like he's going to take the Grandmaster victory once again. What used to be known as the Jedi prize, of course. Jedi Grandmaster. So Sam Faulkner in front of Harry Barlow. In fact, Barlow actually gained a bit of ground on him there, but I wonder if that is just Sam Faulkner balancing the tyres. He doesn't want to push them too hard with the last bit of the race. He's got a bit of a gap on Harry Barlow. He's a very measured driver, is Sam Faulkner, as well as a very consistent one. And he's taking one step closer to what could be described as the clean sweep. I'm not sure if he would have one at Wilton Mill, but certainly he has had the sort of pace to be... Oh, that's a big off. That's Ami Jurga. Ami Jurga's gone off on the exit of Park Bend. That's a big off there, and that's very uncharacteristic. I'm not sure what happened, but Ami Jurga, unfortunately, battling away with Paul Ozan and Will Checkley. Looks to me as though they've got a little bit too close together. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. I'm not sure if we've got a replay of it either, unfortunately. I think we just caught the end of that incident. I'm not sure if we got the actual crash itself. We'll have to have another look at that one later, I guess. But Sam Faulkner is a second ahead of Harry Barlow. Evans in third and Pearce in fourth from Hitch. Then it is Stansfield falling into the clutches now of Jason Bradbury a little bit. Trying to stay with Ben Hitch though, and that is very hard. But the rest of the field still having a good battle, even though Sam Faulkner is now starting to open up the taps a little bit on Harry Barlow. It'll still be Barlow's best ever finish in Super Elite 1-2-5s in second place, and he's very much earned that. And he can be very positive heading to the season finale at Wilton Mill. Richard Evans, though, still hanging on to third in front of Matthew Pearce, who again, for some reason, the kart just doesn't seem to have the overall pace to challenge Evans until at least the end. I wonder if he was looking after tyres there, because all of a sudden, he has come onto the back of Richard Evans again. So we may still get a bit of a barn dance for third position. Faulkner leads, Barlow second. Here's the battle for third, because Pearce has caught up to Evans once more. Hitch and Stansfield are close in. Oh, Evans has a bit of a mistake there out of the hairpin. He runs wide and he suddenly realises, that's Matthew behind me. Right, let's get on with this. I think he was a little bit complacent potentially for a moment there. Just had a little bit of a moment. But now with 2 minutes and 22 on the clock, plus the bonus lap, we are closing the doors on this weekend. And Matthew Pearce has got through. He's made the move on Richard Evans. He was a good second or so back from him at one point. Now they are battling for third. Evans trying to come the long way round. Pearce protects to the inside. And Ben Hitch is going to have a crack now that he's got past Tyrone Stansfield. Ben Hitch will be the next one to attack Richard Evans, but Evans may get a move on Pearce before that happens. Down to the braking zone for the hairpin. It's going to be a tighter line for Pearce, and Evans is going to get alongside him as they battle for third position in the Bruno chicane. Pearce will not relent, and there's contact between them. Oh, and Hitch gets up the inside of Evans, and Stansfield sweeps past them both as Hitch runs wide. So Stansfield's going to get through. Hitch is absolutely infuriated with that. I think he's more infuriated with himself because he saw the opportunity, saw the gap, and it just didn't work. But now Matthew Pearce in third position. Stansfield fourth. Evans is fifth, and in sixth is Jason Bradbury. But Ben Hitch is not out of the war zone yet. He is still going to be the leading rookie home in front of Dave Burns if it stays like this. But we're not done yet as Evans dives up the inside for Stansfield. And Bradbury gets through as well. Evans gets a warning for contact in that incident. And now Ben Hitch is lining up Stansfield again. Only this time it is for a move for sixth position. So Hitch wants to go for the move on Stansfield to P6. And he is going to try, but Stansfield held a very comfortable line on the inside line there, as it looks to me as though Sam Faulkner is going into his penultimate lap now. Barlow in second from Pearce, Evans, Bradbury, Stansfield and Hitch. Oh, that got all a little bit shaky in the middle. I did wonder if we were going to get a bit more action, and we certainly did. So with 30 seconds plus change, it is going to be a very tense battle for fourth position now to the end. Matthew Pearce having got away from Evans, Bradbury, Stansfield and Hitch. But Bradbury, yet again, right place, right time. He's just so good at doing this, the number 8. And he's there in fifth. It will not be long before he's knocking on the door of regular podium finishes. He's got plenty of positives he can take out of this weekend. As we're looking at Ben Hitch trying to get back on terms with Tyrone Stansfield. They come over the line. So it's number 8 in fifth place. That is Jason Bradbury. Then it is Tyrone Stansfield. And then, of course, it is Ben Hitch. There was just enough time to get an additional lap in. So Sam Faulkner is actually on his penultimate lap now rather than his last lap. So we will get 21 laps out of this final. But it is an absolute country mile now that Sam Faulkner has pulled out on Harry Barlow. He's been very careful in the early stages. Didn't lose too much time. Read the situation, got past Evans again, got past Harry Barlow once more, and now leads the way comfortably. It's a really, really good end to his weekend as he goes into the last lap. He's got 2.2 seconds now on Harry Barlow. He just looks back, he's not pushing too hard. He just knows that he's got the gap. Now, this could be an interesting fight for the end, though. Bradbury, Stansfield and Hitch for fifth position. Sam Dimolow's not been able to catch them. He's in 8th place. He's fought back valiantly. But this is going to be one final duel for the finish. Can Jason Bradbury hang on to 5th in front of Stansfield and Hitch? It's going to need a very bold move from Stansfield to get there. He'll try his best, but I'm not sure he's going to manage it. As out in front, 18 starts turn into an 18th victory for Sam Faulkner. The record continues as Faulkner wins for the 18th time this season. Unbelievable. Barlow in second, Pearce is third, Evans is fourth from Bradbury, Stansfield, Hitch and Dimolow, Mark Lawrence ninth, and Sean Port, a great fight back to 10th position. Who would have thought that that would have seen us go 18 races with 18 victories? But as Julie Douglas writes on the stream, yes, 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 best result ever for SuperElites 125 for Harry Barlow in second place. A really, really strong drive. There's your result. Faulkner, Barlow and Pearce are your podium finishers from Richard Evans and Jason Bradbury, Tyrone Stansfield, Ben Hitch, Sam Dimolow, Mark Lawrence and Sean Port, from Carl Watt, Paul Ozan, Dan Walden and Will Checkley in the mix. A quick look over the highlights from the race just to conclude things for the moment. We will, of course, have the podium finish as well to watch over. That start, a perfect one for Richard Evans to get past Stansfield. A few drivers going a little bit upsy-daisy at turn 1. But once that start was on for Richard Evans, the move on Faulkner gave everybody a little glimmer of hope. Harry Barlow did the same move. But this was a good one. Harry Barlow basically got the gesture from Faulkner. Go for the lead, mate. And that's exactly what he did. A corner later, boom, thank you and good night. And Faulkner tried to get past him, but he had to wait a little bit longer. But Faulkner just got his head down and got on with it. Once he got past Evans, it was just a simple little slide through on Barlow, and that was job done. But as far as Barlow is concerned, absolutely brilliant. So, a really exciting battle and a really exciting end to the weekend. We saw some absolutely sensational racing over the course of the weekend. Melvin Tingzon writes, I wish I could have done that when I was younger. As it stands, in the world, the phrase of remaining undiscovered, bless him. And that was the incident we saw earlier on from Ami Jurga. Just got a little bit too wide in the car, getting out of line and boom into the wall. Matthew Pearce's move on Richard Evans in the closing stages gave us a little bit of a spicy conclusion as well. But Richard Evans had him sussed. And a very nice move. There was a little bit of a tussle between the two of them. Hitch saw the gap and tried to go for it. Didn't quite work. Sam Faulkner checks over his shoulder. Where is everybody? 18 races, 18 wins. Outstanding this season. So we are going to have a podium ceremony a little bit later on, of course, and we will be on the live stream for that. So do please make sure you join us. But what a fantastic end to the day with some great races. The finals won by Oakley Keatley, Nikki Taylor, and the victor for Sam Faulkner, with new winners in the paddock for Aidan Hassan in the cadets pre-final and Nikki Taylor twice in juniors. All three championships will go to a showdown at Wilton Mill next month, and I can't wait. It's going to be an amazing end to the year.